Hello and welcome to Clearance Rate, a full wrap-up of the nation's residential property sales over the last week. And the stats this week showing somewhat of a market stabilisation following last year's period of solid growth. Good news for prospective homeowners, perhaps not so for investors. Either way, here to put it all into context is New South Wales real estate editor Tim McIntyre. And Tim, can you just start by running us over those capital city clearance rates? What are we seeing?
Okay, thanks Maura. Well, basically this week it is the winter period and the auction markets have slowed down, but Sydney's maintained its strength of 71.9%. Melbourne close behind with 69.1% from a couple of hundred extra auctions there. The rest of the majors struggling a little bit. As you can see, not many numbers all up, and 38.1% for Brisbane from 141, 58.8% for Adelaide.
And what are we seeing by way of private house sales?
Okay, well this is the same old story as it has been for most of the year. Sydney well out in front for median price, 745,000 from 2,188 sales. Melbourne volume of sales getting up there with Sydney, but as you can see the price is still well down, 235,000 below what we're seeing in Sydney. The other markets are pretty steady, offering decent value between 420 and 535,000.
And what about on the apartment front? Tim, investors must be pretty happy, especially in Sydney, that median sale price for apartments almost at $600,000.
Yeah, they'd be very happy, especially if they bought about 2 years ago. So right now we're closing in on 600,000 for apartments in Sydney, which is pretty amazing, and plenty of sales up there as well. Adelaide offering the best value, 311,375 for an apartment at the moment. Pretty good time to get in if you're an investor there. And Melbourne steadying on with 445,000, getting ahead of Perth with 420.
And that's what people have to realise if they do want to get into the investment market, not necessarily Sydney and Melbourne. Really look for those capital cities where there's growth potential ahead.
That's right, that's right.
All right, run us through basically what all the data means for those overall home values across the major capital cities.
Okay, well overall we've had a bit of a stabilisation, as you mentioned earlier. Sydney at 0.8% for the week. That's just stopped its negative month that it had been having, and now we're back in positives and moving forward again. Melbourne, a good recovery of 1% growth this week, which has really stemmed the flow of about a 3-month downward spiral for that market. Brisbane and Perth not doing much, and Adelaide just dropping off a little bit from what some of the strength that had gathered in the last few weeks.
Yeah, sort of really, I guess, reiterates that Adelaide is a potential hotspot for investors looking forward.
Yeah.
Run us through your best buys of the week. My favourite part, those great pictures we get to see.
Okay, well the first one this week this shows you what money can get you if you're in Western Sydney. So this is 2.02 million for this property out in Horsley Park. As you can see, it looks like pretty much like a mini resort out there.
Yeah, and it looks like you're in the countryside. You wouldn't know that. How long? 45 minutes, an hour to the CBD?
Yeah, about that, depending on what sort of main arteries you can get in there. But and that's a good example of how there is land to be had out there if you've got a bit of cash.
Mm-hmm. All right, and what else? That one looks pretty good.
And this is just a nice interior shot that I thought you liked. This is a $1 million semi in Kensington in Sydney.
Oh, so $1 million, only a semi, and you have to deal with that.
Yeah, I think you'd have to spend a little bit more to get that into.
It looks a little bit like a potential sauna, hot room, perhaps a Turkish bathhouse or something like that. Anyway, that's all we've got time for this week. We will see you again next week. Cheers.